be practicing today using acrylic sheets. I have my monomer placed into my monomer container and will be using a size 14 brush. I like to pour my acrylic out on the cover. We'll be starting with a small bead. You make sure your bead is not flat, and I will be explaining how it works in detail. You always make sure you have a paper towel set aside to wipe your brushes before dipping it back into your monomer. You make sure you dip and soak completely. You'll be doing 1.1 or 2.1 or 2.2. What I mean is the amount of time you dab is the same amount of time you get to pick, making sure that they are equal. So your bead is not too runny or too dried. You make sure you are using a very good acrylic powder. If not, your application would not work. How to know a good acrylic powder? It's not too stretchy, not too dry, not too wet. Explaining how this works. You'll be patting off once on your acrylic liquid after soaking each side of your brush, dipping it once into your acrylic powder to give you a small bead, and then when you dab off slightly, you dip in 3 times to give you a larger bead. You make sure your bead is not too runny or too dry by dabbing slightly and picking very little bead by dabbing once. Practicing further on sheets, we'll be dabbing twice to get a medium bead, and we'll be placing that right on the apex. Remember that during your 3 bead application method, you apply from the apex. After blending and tucking that in, you are patting and pulling. We have 3 core sides or anatomy you will be working on, which is the cuticle, the apex, and the free edge. You always make sure you build your apex right in between the cuticle, from the middle of the cuticle space toward the free edge makes your apex, and you always make sure that you always have a good build up on your apex. If not, you will fail to give your nail structure and strength. To have a very good structure, you'd make sure your apex is well built. So working on the 3 bead would make you slow, but for learners, it's good to understand the basics. When you are covering a long nail or extra long nail, you always make sure you do 3 beads or more. Practice as much as you want. And always remember you have to tuck your products in, making sure it's not running through the side walls or the cuticle. We'll be doing a 2 bead on this. I would start by placing my first medium bead just about 1 millimeter off the cuticle and blending that toward the free edge. If you reflect back on our video on nail anatomy, you would clearly see that it's well labeled for you to understand your apex, free edge, and cuticles. You start by placing the second bead in between the apex and then blending that slowly toward the free edge, making sure you do not lose your shape or the apex. Always make sure you wipe your brush so you are not putting product back into your monomer. We'll be doing the one bead by dabbing off once, making sure that your powder is well leveled, and picking the product 3 times. Placing that right toward the cuticle and then blending that slowly toward the free edge. Doing a one bead application method will help your work faster. It will help you save time. It's easier and faster for short and medium length nails. You place right at the cuticle to maintain a good apex, so you build strength. You can see the differences between all 3, but you can't decide. I'd want you to get a plain sheet, A4 paper, and draw shapes and sizes in small, medium, and large so we can practice on it. You can also do this on a paper towel. You start by soaking off your brush, dabbing once or twice, and picking a small bead. Placing it where you want it, making sure that you can walk around with it. If your acrylic consistency is too watery, it is not going to work. It will run through your nail. If you have a good consistency, you would be able to play around it like so. Remember, you are only wiping your brush gentle. You are not wiping it too hard. If not, you have little monomer left on your brush, and then it will be difficult for you to work on. Remember, the ratio calculation should be 1:1 or 2.2, so you have a balanced consistency. This is how it works, so you do not have a bead that is too watery or too dried. So on a paper towel or A4 paper, practice shapes. This will help you as guideline in achieving a perfect job on the paper. You can practice any shape you want on it, making sure it serves as a guide, helping you achieve your acrylic consistency before we can move on with the application on a human volunteer or a mannequin. Without you practicing your acrylic ratio to get the perfect consistency, you would not be able to work on the human nail, because your product will run through the cuticle or run around the side walls. All you need to do is to practice. And remember, big tip for you, acrylic ratio is the foundation. Don't push. And also remember that a perfect bead leads to perfect set. Make sure it's so flexible that you can work with it. While working on the human hands, always remember that you do not want to put product on the skin. Wet bead, remember it's too runny, it's not stable. It should be used for 3D, not overlays. And dry bead would crumble hard and very hard to apply, and it causes lifting. Medium bead is perfect balance. It's smooth for application, so always go with a medium bead. This is what you should have if your bead is perfect. Always remember that nail length depends on the client's lifestyle. If they are breastfeeding mothers, if they are medical practitioners, if they are students, you make sure that they pick the perfect nail length that works for them. And most times, to be honest, it's individual choices. I usually use magnets in getting the right measurements. I use no magnet or one magnet for short. I use 2 to 3 magnets to give me perfect medium, and you can use 5 or magnets to give you long nails or length, and so on and so forth.